Rebellions are built on hope.
And welcome to another episode of the Rebellion, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Alberto Calderon, and thank you for joining us on this special Star Wars Saturday. I am here. It is season 11 of Star Wars podcast. There we go. There I am. Little technical difficulties, as always, because StreamYard has changed the way they do things. But we are here. We're back. How's everyone doing? It's been a while. I'm not going to lie about it. We're still trying to figure things out. How does this all work? I don't remember. Hopefully you guys do. Doesn't matter. From Star Wars. As always. Thanks for being here. Again, if you're joining us for the first time, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new episodes when they drop. Like this video, comment, like I said, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button. And then if you're listening to the audio podcast, give us a 5-star rating, review. If you are watching this later on the replay also, make sure you leave us a comment down below on everything we're going to talk about today, which is all about the Bad Batch and the new novel coming out, Star Wars Sanctuary Bad Batch novel. We'll get to that in a second, but how you guys doing? It's been a while since we've seen each other. It's Star Wars. Not a lot of news out there, so little rumors and things over here. We had San Diego Comic-Con last weekend, so there's some cool new books and new announcement. We'll talk about that maybe next week when we'll get Audie back and we'll go over all the stuff that has happened this summer. But for right now, let's go ahead. Let's just do it. And it's Star Wars, the Sanctuary, a Bad Batch novel. That's going to be our non-spoiler review today. I thought about doing first a spoiler review, but then remember that the book's not out. It comes out on next Tuesday. August 5th is when the book comes out. We're very excited for it. So make sure that you get that book when it comes out. Lamar Giles does an excellent job with this book. So let's go ahead and do our non-spoiler review on Sanctuary. So like I said, Lamar Giles is the author of this book. Mark Thompson does the narration, does a great job as always. Special shout out again to Random House Worlds and Penguin Random House Audios for sending us an advanced review copy. It's always nice to be able to get those ahead of time, to then be able to do this type of reviews and let you guys know what our thoughts on the book. And again, this is a note for myself to limit the amount of spoilers I put out there. Hopefully I don't do any, but again, it will be a non-spoiler review of Sanctuary. And if you're watching us again live right now, thank you for being here. Get in the chat if you have questions about the book, and I'll try to stay non-spoiler as always. And if there's any big spoilers, I'll let you know ahead of time. But the setting for this novel is basically is towards the tail end of season 2 of the Bad Batch, after episode 13, Pabu, which is a great episode, but not towards the end of the season when, unfortunately, we get the tech sacrifice. We're not at that point. The whole gang is here, except Crosshair. We know he left at the end of season 1. There are mentions of Crosshair, so no problems there. Echo's not here either. Again, there's mentions and their absence is felt in the group, and it's something that it's part of the story. So our friend Brennan is here. How you doing, Brennan? Hello there. I've been rewatching The Bad Batch and I had forgotten how good of a show it is. Omega is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Again, I understand, Brennan. I'm not going to say I'm right there with you because I had my issues, as everyone that listens to our show, watches our show knows. I had my issues with season 1 of The Bad Batch. Season 2, I started coming around, and then season 3 is one of my favorite Star Wars animated season series of all time. It knocked it out of the park. So yeah. And Omega, again, a character that grew along with me. And I'll talk about them in a minute. So I'm going to say again, and I said every time I talk about Sanctuary, is what a wonderful surprise this book was. For me, like I just mentioned, I had my ups and downs with the Bad Batch in general. It ended on a very, very high. So I was a little bit skeptical coming into this novel. I wasn't sure I was gonna feel about it. It's at that kind of middle to tail end of season two, which I was starting to enjoy the show more at that point. I had some issues or not concerns. I had some concerns going into it because I had issues in the past with novels or books or stories that take like animated characters or animated TV shows and then translate those situations towards a book or novel, where I felt they just feel too. This was an unused story, or this was an unfinished arc. And I know I'm in the minority, but some of the more popular books out there with Clone Wars characters, I'm like, I don't know, they just feel like you go step by step like a TV show or a TV episode. So I was afraid we're just going to read like a 30-minute episode, kind of extended for 200, 300 pages. That notion or that concern was erased like in the first two chapters of this book. It goes in a totally, not a totally different direction. All these characters feel like the characters from the TV show, feels like situations they will get themselves involved in, but it reads like an actual story, like an actual novel, actual book. It doesn't feel like a translation from a TV script to a novel. No, it is a full script. A full story, full art for all the characters. There are interesting things that happen every time. I was extremely surprised at how much I love this book so far. I'm not gonna say if it's my favorite book of the year. That will come out later by the end. But so far, it's the biggest surprise. Like I didn't expect to love this book as much as I did. So if you're being kind of up and down, if you should get it or not, if you love Star Wars novels, Star Wars book, a lot of action, a lot of twists and turns, you'll get here some great villains. I think that's what made that book for me. And of course, if you like the Bad Batch characters and those type of stories that they tell, then yes, of course, get this book. You're not gonna be disappointed. So Brandon, when the show hit, it really hits. And that last season, a lot of episodes in season two also hit very hard, especially those last couple of episodes. Pabu was a great episode to have kind of at the end of season two, because then it kind of tells you the story that those characters are kind of fighting for, what they're fighting for when you get to season three. So Brennan is adding, there are a lot of episodes you can arguably skip, but there are so many that really knock it out of the park. Yeah, 100%. And sometimes those kind of episodes that you would skip are some of my favorites. Like in season two, that racing episode, that's kind of like the second or third, I think, of the season, is one of my favorites. That's nothing, but it's one of my favorites. All right. Anyway, so yeah, again, delightful surprise. Love this book. Really loved it. So, what's the story? Again, spoilers to a minimum. Anything that's a spoiler that you guys might think I'm spoiling, it's very surface level. So, don't feel like I'm really ruining the book for you guys. And it's mostly going to be kind of first couple of chapters, at least the story, kind of where the story is when we start. We're at an art auction. They're trying to liberate, like Phee would say, they're not stealing. They're trying to liberate some stolen artifacts, very important artifacts, historical artifacts. So they're trying to liberate those. And there's other things that the group has in motion. All this is to try to get enough funds or supplies to rebuild Pabu, right? After that episode in season two, that town got decimated by a tsunami, basically. A big ocean wave came in, a sea surge, and they're trying to rebuild the city. So they're trying to find the funds and the supplies to rebuild it. There's some cool kind of comedic bits. Hunter is posing as a caterer during this auction because of his knife skills, so they put him in the kitchen. But his chef is a droid that doesn't appreciate his knife skills and keeps telling him how bad he is in doing a special garnish. And Hunter's like, dude, I can cut your throat even though you're a droid, cut your servos or whatever in 7 different manners, and no one would say anything bad about it. And you're here knocking me down because I can't cut a vegetable or something like that. So some cool moments there to start. Wrecker is posing as a valet to help with the getaway and to secure the exits. Tech, of course, is monitoring the comms and some special signal that they have going on. Phee and Omega are working the crowd. Omega is doing something, stealing some credits to kind of boost their count before they leave. But as any bad mission, it doesn't go as planned, right? That's what we love about the Bad Batch. They have all these plans of how everything's gonna go by the book and by the numbers, and never does. And that's why we love the show so much, is how they improvise. So of course things don't go the way that they think it will. So they're trying to salvage the mission on their way to the meeting, to the contact that they have their source for those stolen artifacts. Phee has the bright idea of, hey, let's pick up, let's have a quick side mission to get some extra credits because the original mission didn't work. Let's go on a quick side mission to get some extra credits for Pabu. And as you can imagine, for Hunter, this is the worst possible scenario. Like something just happened, something went wrong because we weren't really prepared, or even though we were prepared, went wrong. And now you want us to go 100% into a new mission that no one has been briefed on. We're unprepared. It's an unvetted mission. So he's going off the rails about, we can't do this. This is why we fail. And it's a simple thing. We're just going to pick up some passengers and take them to Magito, and that's it. It's on our way to where we're going anyways. So what's the big deal? For Hunter, this is a big deal, but for the rest of the group, they're on board because they do need the credits. I'm going to leave it there in terms of the story. The setup. That's the first couple of chapters. Everything else, if I go story-wise, is going to be a little bit more spoiler territory. So let's talk a little bit about the characters. So, of course, this is a book about the Bad Batch. The one that gets the most exposure are Hunter and Omega, but mainly Hunter. You could almost say this is a Hunter book. There's a lot with Tech and Phee, and we'll get into that. Some great new characters. But of the group that we know the most, of the Bad Batch of Clone Force 99, Hunter gets the most exposition, the one that goes through the biggest arc. So all he knows basically is war. And he knows that war is over, but he's still acting like they're in a war, like he needs to lead the group. Like we're on a mission, basically. I mean, everything that they do for him, it's on a mission. He's the leader. He needs to watch everyone's back, needs to make sure everything's planned, everything's vetted, that there are multiple exit strategies in case anything goes wrong, right? That's Hunter's mentality. Even though they're not really officially a squad out there doing special missions for the Republic or whatever it is, now that the Empire has taken over, the clones have been decommissioned, and everyone's after the Bad Batch, they're not really a kind of shouldn't have that mentality that there's still this group going out there doing missions. But for Hunter, this is the way he's always lived, the way he's been programmed. So he still has that mentality. And that causes a little bit of friction with the other members of the group. Like he's not their leader. Like all of them should have a voice in what is supposed on any decision that they have. And he still acts like he should be at least the most important voice among all of them. So this gives us great moments, great conversations with Omega, with Wrecker, discussing what the future might look for each of them as individuals, not as the Bad Batch or a group. Like all of them as individuals might have different interpretations of what they want the future to look like. And that for Hunter, it's not what he was expecting. So that puts the character in an unusual situation and give us a little bit more to explore. And for the author, for Lamar Giles, to explore the character a little bit more, not just this tracker out there that saves everyone when it's needed. It's a little bit different, which again, as we know, the story is going to end in season 3. It's very important to start putting out the pieces for that character. And if you talk about Hunter, you're going to talk about Omega. And Brennan, you were 100% right at saying that Omega, well, what's exactly? I don't want to put words in your. So, hey, Omega is one of your favorite characters. Omega is the best of us. She is what we want people to be. And she sees the best in everyone. She would give someone out there her share of food, her share of the credits, if it would help them, even if that meant that she didn't have anything to eat. If she was cold and saw someone that was cold next to her, she would give her jacket. Even that would make her even colder. She doesn't care. She's gonna do whatever she can to make sure that person next to her gets to live a little bit better. And that could be the good guys, the bad guys, strangers, people that might be double crossing them, it doesn't matter. She sees the good in everyone in every situation. That's why I say she's the best of us. Like she's what we want everyone to be. And it's especially by season 3 of The Bad Batch, we see this in everything that she does. And we get a lot of that with her in this show. Sorry, on this book. There's a quick scene, like I mentioned, between her and Hunter that prepare us for her actions by the end of season 3 of The Bad Batch. And I don't want to get too much into it because of spoilers of the book. Although there are not really a lot of spoilers, but it's again that conversation, what the future means for everyone inside the group, and Hunter and her having that parent-daughter relationship gets explored here a lot. When, as a dad of a teenage girl, I can relate 100% to Hunter's point of view, but also understand why Omega is coming from her side and from her end. And Lamar Giles does a great job. He finds a clever way to use her time on Camino, learning under Nala Say all the scientific stuff, to then move the plot forward during a crucial part of the story in Sanctuary. It's like you could go in and say, how the heck does Omega know how to do this? And they kind of like, oh yeah, during her time on Camino, spending with Nala Se and with the other scientists there, she learned about X, about these situations. Oh, it makes 100% sense. It's not just we gotta make sure this character survive or this person gets to where they need to go, blah, blah, blah. No, it makes sense that Omega is the one that's able to help in that situation. It feels natural, doesn't feel forced. I think again, it makes sense for the characters that are involved in that scene, in that part of the story. Give me 1 second, get some water. All right, so Wrecker, I would say Wrecker is if a character didn't get too much of an arc or too much of exposure to expand their quote-unquote character, it's Wrecker. But at the same time, I think it fits to where the character was by season 2 and season 3. Season 1, he had a little bit more to do, especially when he gets the chip for Order 66 activated and the way he acts towards Omega. And then there's some other episodes after that about the things he's going through. After that, he's just a big, lovable uncle that's there to blow stuff up. And that's basically what he is in this book. And that's not always wrong. I mean, I had a big smile on my face every time he got a chance to blow something up or the opportunity to blow something up came up, just as big as Wrecker had when he's like, oh, can I blow this up? Or I'm ready to blow a hole in the wall. Yeah, it's perfect. That's why he's there. And it works for the character. But if you're trying to see or hoping to see a different side of Wrecker, it might not be there. But again, the lovable uncle, everyone wants to spend time with him. And if you need someone to have your back during a fight, especially against unsurmountable odds, he's the one to be there. And like I said, when I talk about Hunter, so there's again another interesting talk between Hunter and Wrecker about their future, what Hunter wants, what he thinks everyone would want in terms of rebuilding Pabu and settling down there to watch what Wrecker's kind of thinking about. A little bit different, but again, gives those characters a little bit time to breathe and give them in that scene a little bit more into both of them and their mentality. I had some very cool action scenes just by himself and with some of the new characters that are introduced. Very, very cool, especially towards the end. So Tech and Phee, yes, we get a Tech and Phee ship. It's official. Brown Eyes. Phee is all in on flirting with Brown Eyes throughout the book. Tech is trying to figure out not what this means, but how to, I guess, interact with Phee in that flirtatious kind of romantic way. We know that Tech is all on the technical computer side, so it's a little bit difficult for him to get the correct words out, I guess, if it's not computer related. But Phee understands. She knows that there are those feelings there, and they do have the conversation. From the beginning, she's always brown eyes. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and he's a little bit more reserved, but it's there. So by the end, when they kind of talk about it, it's like, yeah, we know there's something there. They just have to figure out how to communicate, I guess. Tech has also some funny scenes, especially at those first chapters, infiltrating the auction. He has to wear a tuxedo, and it's like, I'm itchy. Like, of course, he'll be itchy and complain like a 5-year-old wearing some expensive or so, like a button-down shirt. Kids would just, oh, I'm itchy. It's uncomfortable. Get it off me. That's how Tech feels. So it's a little bit of a funny moment for him there. Freeze always thinking about the next play, how to turn a misfortune into an opportunity. Very opposite to Hunter. She doesn't need to have every step planned. She kind of goes with the flow, and that kind of aggravates Hunter. And on her end, she gets aggravated when Hunter tries to have everything laser focused. So having those two go back and forth is a very cool dynamic that we get through most of the book. Towards the end, we see that they start working and meshing well together. But yes, it's this free loving, let's just go with the flow and we'll figure it out along the way, which is very different to the Bad Batch and how they do stuff. So new characters, mainly in the, I don't want to call hero side, but they're not villains, but let's just call them two new characters we get are Sohai and Kuto. Extremely difficult to go too much in depth into each of them without going into full-on spoilers. Their story is very interesting and very important to the actual book. This is basically what the book is about. I mean, again, it's about getting resources for Pabu, but those two characters are very important to the whole story. Those are the pair that Phee wants to pick up on their way to meet their contact and take them to Magito. These are the people. They have secrets. There's a bunch of different reveals and secrets that they have, but every reveal delivers. Sometimes we're reading a book, every time they try to pull the rug from under, you just kind of, well, why didn't make sense or it didn't need to happen. Every reveal and every secret that's brought up makes sense, blew my mind, like, oh, okay, now this gets more interesting. And then something else happened, oh, now this ups the ante even more. So again, and this happens in the first half of the book, every time it gets more and more interesting and you get more invested into those characters and what everyone's going into. So I love what Lamar, the author, did with those characters, again with the story in whole, but introducing those two characters into a book that's about 4 plus 3, 5 characters that we've grown through those 3 seasons of the Bad Batch to introduce 2 key elements. He delivered great with those 2. Who they are, what their background is, how integral they are to the story. Again, everything works. All right, let's talk villains. And here's where I think Sanctuary separates itself from other Star Wars books or animation to book translation, like I mentioned before. We get villains that are multidimensional. They have fully fleshed backgrounds. Their motivations are obvious. You don't need to wonder why is he involved in this. It doesn't make sense that they send this person. No, they're not the run-of-the-mill incompetent Imperials that we're used to in a lot of stories. They also have another set of cool reveals throughout the book that make the story just as cool as the hero story. So you're following the Bad Batch and Sohai and Kuto and their story and where they're going. On the other side, you're following these 2 villains, which are separate. They do get together at one point, but for, again, that first half, they're 2 separate villains with their own connection to the other characters, but they're not always together just chasing them and trying to, oh, I'm here, the bad guys are here, I'm gonna escape, and now the bad guys are following us. It's not that type of book, and that's why I love, because you can almost do a whole book just on those villains. Will be just as interesting. When I say that Sanctuary doesn't feel like an episode of the Bad Batch or even like a 2 or 3 episode story arc, is because this will be like a whole season. I think this book you can stretch out to a whole season with everything that's going on. That's why I feel there's a fleshed out story, and a lot of it has to do with the villains. Again, a lot of spoilers with them, so I'll keep the descriptions light. So first off is Agent Central Crane. He's an ISB agent he's not in it to move up the ranks of the Empire like we've seen basically every other ISB agent. Thinking about Andor, we love Deidre, right? But she just wants to climb the ladder. And Cyril wants to climb up the ladder. Sandro Crane doesn't really care about the ladder at this point. He has his own motivations for what he's doing. He doesn't want to be a moth or a captain or lieutenant or whatever the hierarchy is. He's smart, he's determined, he's training physical combat, he's hunting someone. Is it Phee? Is it the Bad Batch because they're rogue clones? Is it one of the new characters? You don't know till it's revealed. You're like, wait, is he following Phee because of what just happened? Is he following the clones because, the Bad Batch because they're clones and they're trying to get rid of them? Does it have anything to do with the new characters? We don't know when it's revealed what his motivation is for going after and hunting that person or those people. You're like, oh, yeah, this is great. This is awesome. Where I keep learning more. And then the second one is Celia Motten. It's a wealthy construction mogul with bigger aspirations. She does have bigger aspirations. She likes to flaunt her wealth. She uses her collection and her connection to people to hold power over others. She loves to throw names around of powerful Imperials to try to get people to be afraid of her and what her connections and her motivations are. If they do something against her, she might grab the phone and call someone, and then they come down on the other people. So she's very determined to move up where she wants to get. But she's ruthless, and you're afraid for everyone she's around and what she's doing. She has a complicated tree farming ritual, or just working in her garden. It's not the best. I love working in my yard and watering the plants and planting new little bushes here and there. She's a little bit weird, so I'll just leave it there. So when the story all comes together and when the story brings all of these characters together, it's very engaging. It's not sometimes you're reading a book and look, there's two separate storylines going and one works better than the other. Here you're invested in both, and when they come together, then you're really, okay, here we go. Finally, we're gonna see what's going to happen. At times you might root for the villains or one of the villains, where the two of them are kind of going at each other, because there might be an opposite sides. And there's a very cool, the only thing I'll say, very cool and impressive hallway scene towards the end of the book. I won't say anything else. We'll just have to wait. But again, Sanctuary, a Bad Batch novel, is a book that I enjoy completely. I recommend this book to anyone that loves reading Star Wars novel. If you're kind of on the fence of Star Wars novel but are a fan of the Bad Batch, I really recommend this book. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5 on my full review on the website. Well, yeah, 4 out of 5, easy. I just started listening to the audiobook, so I haven't gone through all of it and see how everything else meshes in terms of the special effects and the music and the voice acting. It's Mark Johnson, Serious Space. It's going to be great. But so far, it's going good. So yeah, that kind of does it for our review of Sanctuary, a Bad Batch novel, and for today's show. Again, 100% recommend this book for everyone out there. Star Wars literary fans, Bad Batch fans of clones, and any other Star Wars story out there. I do recommend this book a lot. So let's go ahead. Get it when it comes out on Tuesday, August 5th. You won't regret it. So that's it for our show today. Again, it's just gonna be a little short, not tip, a little shorter episode today, as we're gearing up to come back full here on Radio Rebellion Star Wars podcast, especially when Star Wars news start getting a little bit more frequent, especially with Mandalorian and Grogu coming out in less than a year. So I'm sure we're gonna start getting more stories, and when Vision Season 3 comes out later this year, and more books and other stuff. So stay safe, guys. We'll be back soon. Can't wait to keep talking Star Wars. So thank you for everyone that joined us today. See you next time. Stay safe. Be safe. And may the Force